Okay, let's talk a little bit. Let's start with the Big 12. Okay, we'll start with the Big 12 and Big 12, SEC, things like that, and what's going on there. If you've missed it, hello. It's been quick. But Texas and Oklahoma have officially been accepted as members of the SEC starting in the 2025 season. Starting in the 2025 season. That's the latest. That means that it's official. We all knew it was heading. That way. It is now official. They will join the conference in 2025. Now, that is the fact. Let me now speculate. I want to make sure I'm drawing a firm divider.
We are stopping, cutting, and then restarting here.
The fact is that Texas and Oklahoma will be members of the SEC starting in 2025.
Yes.
Speculation. There ain't no way
they're waiting until
2025.
I agree with that.
They are 100% destined for some sort of buyout, some sort of settlement, some sort of way that the Big 12 or whatever's left of the Big 12 can be made whole, and Texas and Oklahoma can leave early without having to pay the full penalty. Okay? There's going to be a settlement. Do I think they're going to start playing in 2022? Maybe.
Yeah, I think we can guarantee for a fact it's not happening this year. There's
Let me
no
be clear.
way it's happening this year, so don't freak out about that.
0% chance in 2021.
Yes.
Some chance it's 2022.
And I think a big thing
I would say go ahead.
Is that it depends on what the other schools start doing at this point. I feel like the 2022 thing is if the conference just dissipates.
Or they find their own thing and whatever the Big 12, whatever's left of the Big 12. Somebody, I think Shahan said they called the Hateful Eight, which is very good. The rest of the Big 12, if they land somewhere that they feel like they are comfortable settling with Texas and Oklahoma and not making them play out the string. But, like, they don't want to play with Texas and Oklahoma. They're mad at them. They don't want to play them.
Yeah.
And so
they're basically saying you single-handedly blew up our conference.
Right. Exactly right. And so that's I am of the belief that they will join the conference before 2025. If I were right now, it's 12:09 p.m. on August 3rd, 2021. My guess is that they play their first game as a conference member in the 2023 season. They split the difference. They find some sort of way to make that happen, and that 2023 is when they start playing. Now, it could happen in 2022. It could happen in 2024. I don't think it's going to happen in 2025. I think that is – I don't think anybody wants to wait that long. So, there's that. There was a very interesting / dumb thing that happened in Austin last night. Did you hear about this? Did you read about this? Did you hear about this, Kev?
The 6-hour
There was a Texas Senate subcommittee. Texas State Senate had a hearing.
Had a marathon
hearing, about 6 hours, wherein they invited a number of key people in to talk about this, including Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner of the Big 12, and Texas President Jay Hartzell. Is that right? Jay Hartzell.
Yes.
Okay. I want to issue a positioning statement. I don't ever want to hear politicians talking about college football.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you pray to the flying spaghetti monster. I don't care. I don't want politicians dealing with college football, plain and simple. Okay? I don't. It makes my brain hurt. And yesterday made my brain hurt. Okay? I don't want politicians. That's a hard and fast rule. Okay? Hard and fast. Mm-hmm. With that said, there were a couple of, I think, notable things that came out of there yesterday.
I'm still going to consider it the marathon.
For sure. Mack Rhodes, who's the athletic director at Baylor, he said in this Senate subcommittee, said that Baylor operates at 48% of what Texas does in terms of athletic budget. I don't think that's necessarily a surprise. Jay Hartzell said something along the lines of like $225 million is about their budget, $220 and $225 million, and
is that was Texas's budget?
Texas's
correct?
Budget.
Yes.
And so if you're talking about Baylor, that would put them in the hundred to 110 million.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Texas is one of the richest athletic programs
Absolutely.
in the nation. That makes a lot of sense.
They are not short on donors.
Texas President Jay Hartzell said he was first contact. They reached out to the SEC this spring. I don't know if I buy that, but that's fine. I have a hard time believing they were able to put all this together this quickly, this seamlessly in that short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it was particularly interesting that Bob Bowlesby said something along the lines of that right now. Okay, so Big 12 commissioner. This is from Sam Kahn, our friend Sam Kahn. Big 12 commissioner
Who watched all 6 hours.
He did. God bless him. So we didn't have to. I can just read his tweets. Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby estimates that the remaining 8 Big 12 schools could lose $14 million per year in TV revenue upon Texas and Oklahoma's departure. Bowlesby said Big 12 distributes roughly $28 million in TV revenue per school, which means OU and Texas are about half of that. We had heard that, if you remember, in one of our other many segments on this topic, we had heard that there were TV executives who were saying that Texas and Oklahoma represented somewhere between half and 75% of the value in the Big 12.
Yeah, most reports were coming out around 75%, like on the higher end of that.
So it says could lose $14 million. To put this in perspective, okay, the American, Houston, SMU, those teams, they make about $7 million,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And so if those 8 teams get $14 million in TV revenue, that's still twice what the American would be. Now, I don't know where that would settle if, like, the American and the Pac and Big 12 were to merge of some kind, but those are the facts on the ground. Texas and Oklahoma were certainly kind of the cash cows there as far as Texas, as far as TV revenue is concerned. So this could be a big hit for these programs, but we didn't necessarily, think that that's not necessarily breaking news. We kind of known that. The other thing that I think is particularly interesting here is, like, and this just turned into a bit of, like, when Jay Hartzell got up there, it kind of turned into a bit of a roast. Like, it just kind of got an opportunity for state senators to get some shots off.
I was going to say they were not holding back by any stretch of the mean.
No, they weren't, and they were taking some shots at Texas. And if you are just want to sit back and enjoy the show and you enjoy people sniping at people, this was most certainly for you. Nothing got accomplished from there. And and by the way, how's our power grid doing? But that is that happened. The 6-hour marathon session. The Texas Senate got to say they did their job. Whatever. As I've said, I don't want politicians dealing with college football in any way, shape, or form. Right?
No, there's enough politics in football alone. You don't need additional actual politicians in it.
Right. And so that's where we're at as far as that's concerned. Now, there are some new reports now that there was a report today, I wish I saw it, that Bob Bowlesby is talking with members of the Pac-12 today.
Yes.
To talk about some sort of merger, some sort of scheduled meeting, some sort of way for these two conferences to collaborate
and make
in
more
some sort
divisional type
in some
moves.
Sort of meaningful way. We'll find out where that goes. I think that's a super smart move.
Mm-hmm.
I think that at the very least, feel each other out, figure out exactly where you're at, and whether or not you're willing to partner and want to partner. I think that's the first smart move Bob Bowlesby's had in a while. But yeah, that's where I think that they're at. I haven't necessarily changed my tune on this. I think that the most important thing, the best thing, I don't know. I think the best that would be option number 1 in my opinion, would be to find some sort of partnership with another Power 5 conference like the Pac-12.
Or else I think it just dissipates and there's
option number 2 is probably to bring in some
American Athletic Conference teams.
Exactly right. Yeah, as far as like from highest revenue for every team involved to lowest revenue for every team involved. We're talking Texas Tech, TCU and Baylor. Doing some sort of partnership with the Pac-12 would be number 1. Mm-hmm. I also think that's the least likely. Mm-hmm. Number 2 would be kind of in the middle. I think would be to add teams like Houston, like SMU, like Memphis, like Tulane, Tulsa, things like that. That would be kind of the middle ground. I think that is probably semi-likely, but also would take a hit as far as revenue is concerned.
Right. But then you go from being the big fish in the small pond, which is nice.
If they scatter, then it's every person for themselves. I do think that I don't know if they're going to all hold together. I don't know. But that would probably, as far as there would be some teams that would land on their feet, there would be other teams that land on their face. Mm-hmm. Who knows how those things, figure out. So I think it's smart for them to at least open a dialogue with the Pac-12 and see what's happening there. But a lot of moving parts, obviously, there in conference realignment season. So that's the latest. The Texas Senate Select Committee's hearing on future of college sports is what happened yesterday. So,
sure, folks.
Just
sure.
Look, if I have to stick to sports, y'all have to stick to politics. That feels like
the bomb.
That feels like a fair trade, right? If I can't talk about politics, then y'all can't talk about sports. Deal. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.